welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a totally fascinating collision, the clash between our modern, hyper-convenient technology and ancient spiritual disciplines. Drawing from a recent analysis of teachings by John MacArthur and Reverend John Stott, we're exploring a really provocative question. Is the lightning-fast pace of our AI-driven world quietly, almost invisibly, eroding our deepest internal lives?
Okay, let's dive into this with a powerful quote from Reverend John Stott. He presents this incredibly striking theological premise here. He points out that ignoring our own wrongdoings doesn't just, make us feel a little guilty. It actually triggers a dangerous process of moral hardening. Think of it kind of like a callus forming over your conscience. When we ignore our faults, our hearts literally harden. The source argues that the absolutely most reliable antidote to this is disciplined confession, a regular, intentional practice that keeps the heart soft and responsive. So that brings us to Section 1, True Conditions for Forgiveness, where we'll explore John MacArthur's insights on Matthew 6:12 and 1 John 1:9 regarding the absolute necessity of confession. Looking at John MacArthur's take on those verses, we really have to define our terms here. Confession isn't just reciting some laundry list of wrongs you've committed. Not at all. It's fundamentally about agreement. It's agreeing with God's viewpoint that our sin is inherently evil and defiling. It's admitting that these actions actually pollute our walk with Christ. Now, the source makes a really keen observation here. Our own human pride, that sinful ego we all carry around, makes this kind of deep, honest admission incredibly difficult to do. Moving right along to Section 2, AI and Spiritual Distraction. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it pivots to our modern context, specifically highlighting Taiwan's highly developed tech and AI society to show this in action. Just look at how this evolution impacts us over time. In the 2000s, we were still writing words out by hand, right? It was a deliberate, time-consuming process. Then, by the 2010s, we shifted to typing phonetic symbols on digital screens. Now, heading toward 2026, AI is processing our spoken commands instantly. The source makes a really vital point here. As our technology does more of the heavy lifting and brings us all this convenience, our capacity for deep, deliberate thought is quietly eroding. We're basically just letting algorithms solve complex problems for us in milliseconds. And this creates a major, major contrast. On one hand, you have the sheer speed of AI. It's all about convenience, algorithms, and rapid problem solving. But on the other hand, spiritual reflection demands patience. It requires actual time spent communicating deeply with God. The source warns that the fast-paced convenience of our tech lives is bleeding into our faith. Because we're so hooked on instant results, we start offering superficial, careless prayers. We basically start walking with God, quote, absent-mindedly. Which brings us to Section 3, the dirty cup analogy. And this brilliantly illustrates a highly relatable everyday visual from the source that grounds this whole theological tech conflict. Imagine, you work in a beverage shop. Step 1, you start with an unwashed, dirty cup. Step 2, you add in really good, high-quality ingredients. We're talking fresh strawberries, premium milk. But Step 3, the final product is completely defiled and undeliverable. It doesn't matter how expensive those strawberries are. The unwashed cup ruins the whole thing. The source uses this strawberry milk analogy to explain our spiritual lives. You can try to pour good things into your life, like doing church work or helping others, but if you're operating out of an unwashed cup of unconfessed sin, it just ruins the entire effort. So, the crucial takeaway here is that a quick rinse just isn't enough. Just like an experienced barista knows you have to deeply and thoroughly scrub a container before making a new drink, true continuous repentance is required before we can properly serve God. You literally cannot treat your soul like a smartphone app, just swiping away the bad stuff and expecting an instant reboot. It requires a deep, intentional cleansing. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, the Puritan prayer, where we transition from this modern problem to a time-tested historical solution. To counter our modern instinct for that quick rinse, the source points us to an early, time-tested Puritan prayer. Listen to the poetic contrast here. I sin, but am forgiven. I fail, but am saved. I wander, but am found. I am sinful, but am cleansed. It perfectly balances a raw, honest awareness of our miserable human condition with a total, absolute reliance on Christ's righteousness and cleansing. And the source draws a super vital conclusion from this balance. God's grace and forgiveness are never meant to be a loophole. It's not a license or an excuse for moral failure, where we just say, well, I'll be forgiven anyway. Rather, forgiveness is meant to be an aid to sanctification.
It's a tool that helps us grow in holiness and continuous gratitude. It's the ongoing, daily process of keeping that vessel clean. Finally, Section 5, a call to pause. Let's talk about what this means for you and your spiritual state in the middle of a fast-paced workday. I want to leave you with this powerful question drawn directly from the source's closing thoughts. When your life feels perfectly okay, when things are running smoothly, your tech is working, and there's no immediate crisis, are you still pausing to ask for God's light? We're being challenged here to stop relying on our own built-in spiritual immune system and to intentionally step away from all that instant convenience. Are you willing to take the time to look inside the cup? Think on that today. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.